Okay, US foreclosure activity continues to increase. It's growing. They're coming. It's going to come in waves. Regardless of what you may think is happening in the marketplace or what you may hear from the news media or your real estate agent, they're coming and they're going to make an impact in the marketplace. So welcome to Housing Bubble 2.0 News of the Week, or as I like to call it, another episode of As the Housing Market Turns. Today is October the 13th. Randy Patrick here, putting the realism back in real estate. And FYI, if you guys want to check out a new report that I wrote a couple weeks ago, it's called From Bubble to Correction, then Crash to Crisis, How the Housing Market Imploded in 6 Months. Send me an email. I'll just fire that off to you once I get your email. There you go. All right, so we're going to get into it right now. U.S. foreclosure activity continues to increase quarterly, nearing pre-pandemic levels. So the whole point in this is that, guess what? It's up 104% from a year ago, 3% from the previous quarter. And this is overall foreclosure activity. What I mean by that is default notices, auctions, bank repossessions, like actual foreclosure sales. So up 104% from a year ago. So things are moving forward, which is natural as we get back into a normal type of housing market. We always have had foreclosures. They're just going to come at us a little harder and heavier right now because of the backlog and because of all the people that are really not paying their mortgage. Simple as that. So it's interesting to note that this is still happening. What we've talked about for years is actually happening. So essentially, lenders, now again, let's just qualify here. I like to look at foreclosure starts. So for me, it's the filing of the foreclosure, which is foreclosure filing, otherwise in some states noted as or known as lis pendens or NOD, notice of default. Okay, so basically, lenders started foreclosure process on about 67,000 properties last quarter, up 1% from the previous quarter and up 167% from a year ago, nearly reaching pre-pandemic levels. So I guess that's kind of our benchmark. Is like we got to get to pre-pandemic levels. Well, we're almost there, guys. And basically, foreclosure starts, while rising since the end of the government's foreclosure moratorium, still lag behind pre-pandemic levels. They do lag, but they're catching up, and really, as forbearance is pretty much over, as people move into different loan modifications or fall out of them, or people just decide to not do anything, you're going to see the foreclosure process and the volume pick up pretty dramatically. So it's been increasing pretty consistently the past few months. You can see the foreclosure starts, obviously, where the red arrow is. It's the quarterly, so we're pretty much about the same as the last quarter, just a little bit more. But again, you can see where we had a drop off was obviously during the COVID pandemic, and you could see that we were starting to really kind of pick up the pace a little bit. I know you can't tell, but it's such a small graph, but I was noticing upticks in our area just prior to the pandemic before it came in. So basically, we're getting back to normal. So here's the information. States that posted the greatest number of foreclosure starts included California with over 7,000, Florida about 6,600, Texas 6,200, Illinois 4,700, and New York almost 4,000. Those are foreclosure starts. Those are on a statewide level. The 223 metropolitan statistical areas analyzed in this report that posted the greatest number of foreclosure starts include New York City, New York, Chicago, Illinois, LA, Philadelphia, and Miami, Florida. So what we're seeing now is the major cities, the major players, we're playing catch up right now. I can get into detail, and I've talked about it before, about how the foreclosure, we'll call it tsunami of filings are going to happen and what they're sort of made up of. But we're seeing stuff pick up now because there's no reason why it shouldn't. All right, we're back to a normal world pretty much these days, and real estate's got to get back into a normal process. So when we add all this in to everything that's going on in the real estate market, that's where we kind of get the housing correction moving towards housing crash. But basically, it's the same old states from the previous housing crash that had the huge numbers, and it's the same major metro locations that are having the pretty big numbers as well too. And this is only going to continue. Now, the highest foreclosure rate, so rate being how many one per X number of thousand households or properties. So basically, the highest foreclosure rate was Illinois, Delaware, New Jersey, South Carolina, and Ohio. So some of those states may not be highest in the actual peg count, physical, statistical foreclosure filings, but from a percentage-wise, they're some of the leaders. Some of the locations are up there: Peoria, Illinois, Cleveland, Ohio, Jacksonville, North Carolina, Columbia, South Carolina, and Rockford, Illinois. So again, we're seeing some of these locations pop up again that we've talked about before and have actually were involved in the last housing crisis. Now, bank repo, so bank repossessions, which typically happens through a foreclosure. So when the property goes to auction and a third party bidder or somebody else doesn't purchase it at auction, it's repossessed by the bank. So basically, those are up 18% from the previous quarter and up 39% from a year ago. And we're going to see that slowly increase. Why? Because more homes are being scheduled and going through the foreclosure process now and catching up and being scheduled for foreclosure auction. So just by the nature of what's happening on the increase on the front end, the back end's going to increase as well too. Simple as that. Now, completed foreclosures, as you can see, are down. They've come up a little bit, but again, less of them were happening, which I understand before the pandemic. Pandemic hits, we had the foreclosure and eviction moratorium, so nothing was happening or very few. And now we've seen a slight uptick. But obviously, there's more programs out there now. There's more people involved as investors. There's more lenders offering different programs to keep you in your home or doing forbearance or loan mods. So there's a lot more solutions out there, for a homeowner, just basically even selling, before you're actually going to lose it to the foreclosure auction and it becomes, as they say, a bank repossession. So just realize that we're probably going to see bank repos be kind of low. Now, part of the issue or part of the narrative that goes on with respect to housing is that people who are facing foreclosure, because it takes so long to foreclose, well, guess what? What's going to happen is they can sell their home and cash out their equity. We're not going to have these things. So they often refer to the time it takes to foreclose. So yeah, the average days it takes to foreclose basically have been in the foreclosure process for 885 days. That's down from 948 days in the previous quarter and down 4% from 924 days in Q3 2021. Now, realize that some states have a longer process than others. So Hawaii, New Jersey, Louisiana, Kansas, New York all had pretty long foreclosure processes, where states like Mississippi, Minnesota, Texas, Nebraska, Missouri have a shorter filing process, etc. So it depends on where you live. But the big number, though, I'm looking at, that's an average across the board. A lot of these states have huge numbers. Well, it's moving towards going faster. Unless somebody is, defending or pushing out their foreclosure via legal or other tactics, I'm seeing foreclosures going from start to finish in our area here in about 6 months, which is 180 plus days. You know what I mean? 180, maybe, in the 200 plus range days, which is well below the 885. Okay, so there's no incentive for lenders to keep the process going. They're going to move forward faster. They're better with the data, better with the systems, better with attorneys, the whole bit. So we're going to see, once we get back in the normal world of real estate, we're going to see that number should be dropping from 885 on average. So please keep that in mind. Don't think you have all this time. That's what hurts a lot of homeowners. And by the way, if you guys appreciate the information I provide, if you could help my channel grow, and please subscribe, that would be great. And for those of you that are already subscribers, if you could do me a favor and just review and resubscribe, because I lose subscribers every day, and my channel tends to be plateauing for the past couple of years. So we know what's going on behind the scenes, but if you could resubscribe, I'd really appreciate that. Thank you. So let's go forward here. So that was the third quarter activity. So Adam typically does this. Adam Data Solutions puts this out, third quarter information. But if we just want to talk a little bit about September itself, because what they'll do is every so often we'll see a report on an individual month, but they tend to really do it on a quarterly basis here. So, obviously nationwide in September, 1 in every 4,400, homes had a foreclosure filing. States with the highest foreclosure rates in September were Illinois, Nevada, New Jersey, Maryland, and Ohio. So again, this is more on the ratio per capita, how many homes, 1 in every, 1,959 homes, etc., had a foreclosure filing. So those are your leaders on the ratio side, which typically doesn't surprise me whatsoever. Properties started the foreclosure process in September. We're down 9% from the previous month, but up 113% from a year ago. Now, the foreclosure filings do run a bit cyclical, and they can ebb and flow on a monthly basis. So what I've found is that where I live down here in Florida, we typically see about like a three series cycle. Like, other words, it goes big time in January, slows down kind of around April timeframe, Easter timeframe, then picks up for a few months. Then it slows down over the summertime because attorney firms, courts, whatever, people are on vacation. doing whatever, slowing down. And then once the fall hits, like once September hits, we'll see a pickup in that. So basically, and again, it all depends on where you're located, the county, what's going on. There's a lot of factors in this, but I tend to typically see three kind of filing cycles in the year. Obviously, once the sort of U.S. Thanksgiving kind of comes into play, it slows down until back into January. So keep that in mind. All right, so here we go. We're moving on here. This is their chart. I just want to sort of review this so you guys can take a look at actually what's happening here. This is the U.S. foreclosure market by data by state. And, I've just highlighted really the total properties and which ones appear in the top 10. So this is a list of all the states from an alphabetical order from top to bottom. But if you take a look at the properties with filings, you're seeing, we're not just seeing 50 or a few hundred. We're starting to see thousands now, which is very interesting. So you got to keep that in mind. It's not like we're just trickling this through and it's making no impact on the market. This will make an impact on the market. It's getting bigger. Alabama over 1,200. Arizona over 1,200. Now, what about Arizona, right? High appreciating market. There should be nobody going to foreclosure, right? Well, guess again. Things are changing every marketplace here. California, almost 11,000 filings, all right? Colorado, 1,100 and change. Connecticut, 1,200 and change. Florida, almost 9,300 and change. Georgia, 3,000. Illinois, 7,800. Indiana, about 2,500. So that's a lot. That's over 1,000 for these red circle things. Now, the red arrows are ones that appear in your top 10. So Connecticut appears in your top 10 as number 10. Delaware is number 2. Now, it's number 2 as far as a ranking as far as a per capita ratio, but not necessarily on total property filings. But Delaware is number 2. Florida number 7. Illinois, of course, number 1. Indiana number 8. So some interesting numbers there. We'll go to the next part of the chart. We can take a look at, all right, Louisiana, over 1,000 foreclosure filings. Maryland, which is number 9 per capita, 2,100. Massachusetts, over 1,300. Michigan, over 3,500. Minnesota, about 1,100. Missouri, about 1,100. Nevada at 1,200. And again, they came in number 6 on per capita. We had New Jersey, number 3 per capita, 4,400 filings. New York was actually number 13, had 15, almost, we're getting close to 6,000 filings in that quarter. So you can see that the numbers are starting to pick up in various locations. North Carolina with over 2,600. You've got Ohio over 5,000. They're number 5 in the rankings. Oh, I forgot Pennsylvania there. I didn't circle that. They're 2,900, almost 3,000. South Carolina, number 4 in the rankings, about 2,400. Tennessee, 1,200. Texas, we're getting close to 6,600, and Virginia, 1,700. So over 1,700 foreclosure filings. So you can see that different states with different, we'll call it demographics from income, different types of foreclosure laws for how they file in the state and how they process. I mean, look, you've got Vermont, 15. South Dakota, 23. All right, not much is going on with respect to foreclosures for various reasons in those states. Now, I don't really hear in South Dakota that we had a housing bubble, housing crash, whatever. So it's been pretty consistent in some of these states. So they're going to avoid some of this type of stuff you see in the foreclosure side. But when it comes down to it, what are we seeing? We're seeing a lot more foreclosure filings taking place. Personally, I've had a very busy week. I've seen 5 properties this week, and we're working on all of them at this. Hopefully, just making we're just doing some last minute things to get the sellers to come on board. But you know what? I can tell you, once Labor Day hit, the activity that I'm involved with from the foreclosure side or the short sale side has increased. We're seeing a lot more activity, a lot more calls coming in, people asking for help, a lot of stuff going on. It's still early on, so I expect it to increase. But now we're seeing when you have inbound calls coming, people asking for help, that increase, that's a good sign. And then now when you're converting them, that's a second sign. Going, okay, people need the help, and now they're listening and they're going to come on board, type of thing. So that's what I see, and realize that I can talk a lot about statistics and what goes on in the marketplace. It's very easy to sit here as an armchair real estate professional and do all that, but I'm also out in the field, okay? And if you saw some of the things that I'd see, you'd be pretty shocked and surprised. I've seen everything from terrible, like we're working on this week, everything from I can't even explain what type of home I was in yesterday. It was absolutely revolting, but that's an opportunity. I can go from something as horrible as that to, $2.5 million home on the waterfront here in the area. So there's such a big gap with respect to what you're going to see and what you're going to encounter in this pre-foreclosure world. But the point is that I'm out in the field, I'm doing it, I'm working with other people that are involved in this, investors. I get my agents out there doing it as well too. So it's moving forward. This will be growing. Even in our own little state of Florida here, it's going to grow big time, let alone other places across the country. So something you probably want to get involved in because the opportunity's there. I can guarantee you no one is doing this business. Now, if you want to find out what's happening, again, in your neighborhood, your neck of the woods, go to gethousingdata.com. That's gethousingdata.com. It's my affiliate link with foreclosure.com. This gives you a really good look at what's happening with respect to distressed properties, short sales, foreclosure auctions, people not paying their mortgage, where you live. You can zero in, based on city and zip code and county and stuff. So you can see and validate what I'm talking about here. Really, you can, what I talk about exists, okay? And you can look up line and look at the statistics and see for yourself. So again, gethousingdata.com. If you want to work with me, here's the deal. I'm looking for agents to join my firm in Florida. I'm looking to expand into other metros. If that's interesting to you, give me a shout. Obviously, investor buyers, looking for private lenders for all the projects we're going to be working on. Looking to do syndication and equity fund type things. We're also doing a lot of behind the scenes work with partners that I have in tokenization of real estate, selling properties, in the crypto world as NFTs and stuff like that. But that's stuff that's going to happen. We're embracing the future, wanting to have all options available for purchasing and selling of properties. There you go. Obviously, my foreclosure fortune course is moving forward now. We're looking at launching formally, so we've got a pre-sales discount coming in now. So please jump in, give me a call, reach out to me. Here's my email if you want to talk about stuff. But as I said, this is really happening now, guys. So as much as we've been I've been talking about this since 2018 because I've seen the signs and I've not deviated from my position on this. We're seeing the market correct right now. So that's how I look at it. Going, the correction is happening. I'm going to define separately. The correction is happening just based on rates, inventory, lack of sales, whatever. So we're going to have a correction based in today's environment. And I'm not even going to talk about what happened with respect to inflation, being information on CPI and rent CPI. Those released. That's another video for the future. But all this correction going on and all these foreclosures coming will then make it crash. Okay, that's the way I look at it. So once again, guys, appreciate the views, likes, comments. Please share the video with your family and friends. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe and reach out to me if you want some help or want to talk about anything. All right. Once again, take care. Talk to you guys next week. Bye-bye.